What's the crack, mate? Hope you're keeping well.
I do apologise for running a bit late.
No worries, mate. No worries. Listen, you take your time. It's no issues at all. You wanted to have a wee say on this whole situation, mate. You work away. The floor's yours.
Well, basically, what I would like to say, unfortunately, it's terrible for the both families. But young Joe has got no justice whatsoever. It's very sad. It's very sad. What happened that morning, the young boy obviously died out of it. But at the same time, was Joe guilty of murder? No. He really wasn't. Going back to the one story, God bless the boy and God rest his little soul and God bless his family. But if 3 men came to my home tonight, would I intend to murder one of them? No. But would I defend my wife and kids? Yes. And that's exactly what Joe done. He didn't ask anybody to come to his home with weapons. He didn't go out with weapons looking for anybody. He didn't go around the corner to their house. And it's a very sad situation.
Yeah, mate, I'll tell you, I don't know if I'm going to ask you a few questions here just to get your thoughts on a few things. And you don't have to, as I say, it's a very sensitive case, so don't feel compelled to answer any questions if you think it's going to mess up the case or anything. But a few things that stand out to me, right, is that one, apparently it was, I know the judge done his job and there's no sort of criticism towards the judge, and Paul said that in the interview that I'd done with him. And he didn't want to criticise the judge at all. But the fact that it was his first murder case, or that high-standing case, to say if something was murder or not. And I don't know if you know, but there's a word going about that it could have been a very biased jury, like an all sort of Protestant jury. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that's the case, or do you think... Well,
me personally, I don't care who's Catholic, who's Protestant. It's, you are what you are, and I've got some good Protestant friends. But going what I do know with Northern Ireland, 90%, I won't say all the Catholics or all the Protestants hate each other, but I'd say, there's a good majority, 80%, maybe I could be wrong, that hate each other. And if that is the case, that you've got young Joe from the Republic of Ireland and 12 Protestant juries, I think, to be honest with you, it's terrible. I mean, it should have been at least 6 of 6, 6 Catholics, 6 Protestants. Now, I'm not saying them on the jury were biased, but listen, it didn't help the case. It didn't help the case whatsoever to have 12, if there were 12 Protestants, for a murder trial with young Joe. No, I'm sorry. No, it didn't. It was wrong. It was very wrong. Because looking out from the outside, what I see of Northern Ireland, the Catholics and Protestants hate each other. So we're looking at here a bare-knuckle boxer, a famous bare-knuckle boxer from the Republic of Ireland getting tried by 12 Protestants. No. Let's be honest. If I was in Joe's boots that morning, I wouldn't be happy. And to be honest, vice versa. Would a Protestant be happy getting tried by 12 Catholics? I wouldn't think so.
To be honest with you, Timmy, it's...
not getting tried, but in a jury of 12 Catholics, trying a Protestant, guilty or not guilty, Protestant guy wouldn't be happy.
I get you. I totally get what you're saying, 100%, mate. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Massive injustice, that. I mean, they literally chucked him underneath the bus. Now, when you look at this case, the jury should only look at this case and not what background he comes from, or who he is, or what his history is. Right? They should base it purely on the facts that's put in front of them. Quite clearly, they haven't. And
no, they haven't.
So was it true that it was about an hour and 50 minutes, and they came back with the answer?
Yeah, a couple of hours. To find somebody guilty of murder, which is just, I've never heard it before in my life. And when that happened, that unfortunately the boy, died out of that. The police, the Belfast police have looked at that. They've obviously gone to the CPS, the Crown Prosecution in Belfast. So they've obviously sat down. Now, if they were doing their job right, the worst, and I mean, he shouldn't be charged, but let's say if he was charged, it'd be some low form of manslaughter. But because who he is, Joe Joyce, the famous bare knuckle boxer, and his father, who he is, charge him. Because they were looking at a conviction. He's from the Republic. He's this boxer, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we'll try and get him done for murder. It's just horrible. And if young Joe, as Paul said, if young Joe was from the settled community, a countryman, he would be a victim. He'd be took out of that house and put into a safe house. And all the papers in Belfast would be saying, 3 travelling men came round to his house, blah, 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 and he killed one of them, but young Joe would be a victim. So I'm sorry, Belfast police, the Crown prosecution should hold their heads low, because what they've done is just wrong. Wrong, terrible.
%, I agree with you there.
Terrible.
Can I just, sorry, Steve, I know you want to ask the question there. Apologies. I just want to say something very fast, because I know Steve wants to ask you a question. I can sort of give a bit of insight into that. In the north of Ireland here, there definitely 100% there's a pyramid of sort of like a hierarchy, right? And it's not so much Protestant and Catholic. It is and it isn't, right? But the fact that it's that it's been clarified that it wasn't all Protestant jury. Okay. To me is red flags, because and the fact that it took 2 hours to come to that decision. 2 hours trying to get somebody guilty. But you have to understand the hierarchies of the north of Ireland here look down on us, people like me, and it doesn't matter if you're a unionist or a nationalist or a Catholic or a Protestant. They look down on people like myself. They look down on people like Joe as absolute scum, and this is something that needs to change in the north of Ireland. And if it doesn't,
it's wrong, 100%. And if that's the case, it's just wrong. Joe had no chance then, and what you're saying there, Joe had no chance of winning his case. And this is where it went down to the CPS and the police. They've charged Joe who he is, known right well, exactly what you said. They're looking down, these people, judges, whatever, barristers, you're just common. Have a nice day. And this is why he was charged. I think it's terrible. And as I said to my son William, there's got to be MPs in Belfast looking at this case and reading about it. Has not one of them got a pair? Has not one of them got a pair and saying, listen, whoa, this is not right? As I said, if Joe was from the settled community, there'd be MPs crying out if they were charged with murder. It's wrong. And it's proper discrimination. It's proper racist.
Timmy,
yeah,
I know a lot of them. I know a lot of these politicians, these people that represent the north of Ireland or whatever. Their heads up their hole, mate. They're all career politicians. I'm not going to name any names, but they don't represent us. And if they're watching this right now, you don't represent us.
They'll probably listen to it, and it's sad. It's sad that they can be looking at cases like Joe and knowing that any right man in his right mind would defend his family. Did Joe really go out to murder him? No. I mean, he hit him at the lowest point of his leg. A 2-inch or an inch cut into his leg. And it's sad. And God give the little boy heaven. It's sad. But, does 2 wrongs make a right? No. Does Joe deserve life? No. He doesn't. And it's sad. It's sad. It's an all-round sad case, but you have to be fair, and we're not asking for any favours. We're just asking to look at the facts. Look at the facts from the beginning, what happened and what didn't happen. He's not guilty of murder. And as I said, he's not even guilty of manslaughter. But if he was charged with manslaughter, I got 2 or 3 years, you think, fair enough. But to throw a man away, to be found guilty of murder, it's wrong. It's wrong.
See, Timmy, what these people got to understand is it was the other party that had the intent.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because they left their home, right, with intent, with weapons.
Yes.
They intended to cause harm.
Yes, 100%.
And people of the world have got to understand.
If us three on this talk now went round to a man's house tonight with weapons, our intent is not good. let it be a stabbing, let it be threatening or whatever. If there was never any violence, it wouldn't be good to go out to a man's house with weapons. You know, Joe did not leave his house. And I just think, and it boils down to one thing, the police and the CPS charged him. They charged Joe because who he is. You know, he never asked for it. You know, people come round to his house. And then when he did defend himself, as I said, I don't want to repeat myself, he hit him at the bottom of his leg. You know, it would have been a lot easier to hit him in his neck and kill him. Do you understand? So I just can't make it out. I really cannot make out the justice and the fairness of Belfast. Honestly, they should be ashamed of themselves that people have done this to them. And the jury, you know, I mean, you know, I can't say they were Catholic Protestants, but again, it boils down to young Joe Joyce, the fighting man, you know. And fair enough, the judge might say, oh, don't go, you know, when you go home, don't open, you know, your YouTubes, whatever, don't look them up. Listen, we're all human. We're all human, you know. They went home, they looked at it, seen this bare knuckle boxer, let's find him guilty.
100%, mate. We're living in a day and age now that it's very hard to get.
Grab a phone, and you can Google anybody. Bang, there it is. Exactly. And they Googled Joe. The judge has told them, do not look him up. Yeah, of course not. They've gone home to the husbands, to the wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. Let's have a look at this guy. You know, and he's from the Republic. You know, he's a bare knuckle boxer. You know, we shouldn't be holding against him because he only done it as the last 500 years as travellers done it. You know, if you've got a gang of travellers, 200 men or 100 men and 100 men, and if a couple of go out and sort it out in a bare knuckle fight, shake hands, you know, solve everything.
What I'm trying to think is, what would they want him to do in that scenario? Okay, right. This is the thing that I keep getting the same question over and over again. What's for the people that sort of agree with what's went on here and what's happening to young Joe? They keep saying to me, but what do they want them to do? Well, nobody's just this is the thing what people have to understand. We're not disputing that something's went on. We're not saying that there shouldn't be some type of punishment, but what we are saying, it's not murder.
No,
that's the thing. People need to understand that. People are thinking that the family here saying, "Oh, he should." People are saying like yourself. Well, look, if they give him manslaughter and he done like 3 years, okay, fair enough. We understand that that's went on. But I was looking into this. For murder, there has to be without doubt that is murder, and there is so much doubt in this that was murder. Not premeditated murder, not murder of any kind, murder, any type of murder.
Yes,
there is doubt in this. There is doubt in this. So for that fact, it has to be manslaughter or self-defense.
Yes.
And that's where, in my opinion, the corruption comes in.
And remembering, Ronan and Timmy, that they're the three that had the intent because they had the weapons.
Yes, they left their house, came round to East Street.
They were intending to cause damage. Joe was defending. You've got to have two sides.
I'm not even talking about that, Steve. I'm not even talking. We all know that, right? But even in a one, just say me and you went out in the street, Steve. We met each other, or me and Timmy met each other in the street. We had a bit of a dispute. It got a wee bit ugly, and Timmy accidentally hit me, and I fell and I cracked my head and I died. That's manslaughter.
Yes, 100%.
Right? This situation 100%. here, he went for a non-lethal part of the body, which the police and the army use. So if the army want to disable a human being, they will shoot the person in the legs to disable them, right? Because it's deemed a non-lethal part of the body.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this instance, Joe has went for the non-lethal part and something has happened where it ended up being lethal. So it's not murder.
Never.
It's not
clearly not murder.
Never.
Genuinely, you know, it's not fair. I mean, the people that went to that demonstration the other day in Belfast, unfortunately, I couldn't get there. I went to the, my flight was at 6 o'clock the night before. I went to Gatwick and everything was cancelled. I don't know if it was down to the Queen, God bless her and God rest her soul. But I was told the next day it was because of some of the royal family was flying in. And I couldn't get there. And I'm not going to lie, I was gutted. But for me or my son or any of my family, to think for 1 minute that we were going to that demonstration to know that Joe actually went out to murder that man, we wouldn't have went. There was nobody there. Joe is genuinely he's a victim. He is a victim in this. I know the boy died and God give him heaven, but Joe is a victim. He never asked for this. You know, nobody wants to be sitting down or whatever and people to come round to his home to try and, I don't know what their intent was, but listen, it wasn't good. You know, 3 young men to come with weapons, it wasn't good, you know. But Joe was never, ever going out there to kill anybody. And it's sad. And we can repeat ourselves some. The CPS and the police know this. They know this, but they were biased. They were racist. This is a guy from the Republic. This is young Joe Joyce, blah, blah, the famous whatever, as I said. And charge him. And you know what? We'll get him guilty. And, you know, it's wrong. I've never seen anything like it. It's ridiculous.
Timmy, there's a question, though. 2 questions, actually. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, do you think they made a statement because he's sort of like a celebrity and they try to do this to sort of, in my opinion, is persecution against the travelling community, and 2, do you think because he is a sort of a celebrity, he's a bare knuckle boxer?
Yes, listen, 100%. They've got him. He has killed that boy. God rest his soul. Did he murder him? No. Was it manslaughter? No. But the worst scenario, it was manslaughter. Fair enough, he was charged with manslaughter, but it'd have to be a very low one. But at the same time, he shouldn't be. But yes, going back to your question, they've looked at young Joe. This is his famous boxer, whatever, right? They looked at his old man, old Big Joe Joyce, right? And they thought, you know what? We'll charge him, and we'll get a result here today because who he is. And I just think, I hope God forgives them. And because they have to die one day, face God, for what they've done.
The second question is, how do you feel the appeal will go?
Well, it's not for the want of praying, but my honest opinion, I think he'll get the appeal, and I genuinely think justice will be done. Justice will be done. And I hope if any MPs or councillors or whatever's listen to this, and let me tonight, tomorrow, the next day, they should think and sit down and look at the wife, look at the children, and think for 1 minute, if this happened to me, we do the same thing, we defend ourselves. And as I said, you know, we go out there tonight, do we want to murder anybody or kill anybody? No. You know, nobody, listen, there's not a man in the world, you know, and travellers will huff and puff and they'll say this, that, the other. But does a traveller want to kill another traveller or a countryman? No. Nobody wants to kill anybody unless you're fucking insane, you know. And listen, I just think, you know, you defend your family, you know, and as, you know, let's be honest. As I said earlier, and I don't want to repeat myself, young Joe hit him at the, you know, unfortunately, you know, what he done. But it's just, it could be the same if they give him a punch and kill him. You know, there was no murder. You know, how they charged him with murder, it's just, you know, and I've gone over the one thing, you know, my own mind, with my brothers, with my family. You know, I just think it all boils down to Joe's a traveller, who he is, and he's from the Republic. This is Belfast, and, you know, let's charge him and let him get jailed.
Timmy, can you do me a favour? Mate? I'm going to call this now, right? See, whenever Joe's appeal goes the way that you want it, right, and the politicians start to ring you to get the photographs took with you, can you do me a favour and not get any? Because I'm going to say this now, right, and I don't mean to be outspoken. I apologise for being outspoken. Yeah. But see, when this appeal goes the way that you want it, which I'm very confident it will.
It will go the way it wants it. God, Joe has God on his side.
All these politicians that didn't get involved to help you at the beginning, once it goes the way you want it, they'll want to get involved and get their face in. So these people are scum, they're snakes, the politicians. You know,
I said this to William, you know, there's got to be MPs here, you know, that got to be looking at this case. And if young Joe was a countryman, or as we said, a community country, whatever, young Joe would be a victim. And if Joe was found guilty, there'd be uproar in the papers. 3 travelling men come round a man's house and a man's charged with murder. No. I seen a case there in England there a few years ago. Travelling men went round to a man's house. The man killed him. The man was took out of his house and he was put in a safe house. So he was. In case the rest of the travellers had killed him. But because Joe, who he was, but as you said, listen, Joe will get his appeal, and Joe will walk out of this. He will. God is good, and the right people he has for him, and the help of God, he will get his appeal, and then if the MPs jump on the bandwagon, then we've done it. No, listen, no, they should be there now. There should be somebody in Belfast now saying to somebody, "Whoa, listen, this man is wrong. This man has been convicted of murder. It's a wrong decision. It should never be charged."
Civil rights. If there's any civil rights solicitors, any civil rights people, anybody that's involved with civil rights,
there's got to be people there. There's got to be people there that can have some say on some clout in Belfast, in Northern Ireland. But you know what? They're not opening their mouths, and I don't understand it. I don't understand why not some celebrity or somebody, could say, "Whoa, listen, boys, this is our country. This is Northern Ireland. We're convicted an innocent man for murder. There's not a man in England or Ireland or Scotland or all the world wouldn't have done what Joe done. Joe wanted to kill him, he'd chop his head off. There was no intent. The only intent Joe had, it was to survive, and his children, his wife. And unfortunately, in hindsight, you love to turn back the clock. And, as I said, God rest and God give the little boy heaven, and God bless his family. But all joking aside, does Joe deserve manslaughter? Life in prison? No. And I really hope that some of the police and the CPS or whoever's involved in this case have made the decisions to charge Joe with murder and to find Joe guilty of murder. You know what? They'll have sleepless nights. It's wrong. It's wrong because we're not talking a year here. We're talking life-changing.
What is the word round your way? How do they feel about this? Is there...
Wrong. Yeah. Listen, I've got lots of travelling mates. I've also got lots of country fellas, mates of mine, English, Irish mates, and they've read it, they've looked at it, and I can honestly say, if I've one mate, if I've got 1,000, every one has said the same thing. How could he be charged with murder? How could he be charged with murder? How could he be charged with murder? And as we said it, he shouldn't be even charged with manslaughter. But if you had to say, right, manslaughter from the beginning, I'd do a 2 or 3 year in jail. But no, we'll just give him murder. So what happens tonight? What happens tonight if 3 men came round to your house or your friend's house or my house with weapons? What do? Do we stand there and let us get battered or cut up or whatever and leave your wife there and your children? What do? Do you really defend yourself?
Well, this is the thing, Timmy. This is the thing. So I think...
what is it? An Englishman's home is his castle. And the same goes for an Irishman, Scotsman, a Welshman. That's his home. If you can't defend your wife and children, where's the justice in the world? If us 3 this minute went to a man's house, with the intent of, weapons, and as I said, young Joe never left that home to kill anybody. We're talking like murder, not murder. Yes, he defended himself. But did he walk out and say to his wife that moment, "Oh, Helen, I'm going to murder one of these"? No. If this happened to me tonight and I'm in a traveller site and 3 travelling men can meet tonight, yes, I'll defend myself to the last minute. But do I really want to kill anybody? No. Do I want to murder anybody? No. And I just think we can talk all over. Sorry.
The thing about it is, I don't want to get too political with this, right? Obviously, I'm from the north of Ireland, so it's very hard for me not to get political. But I wonder, right? Because there's a new wave of politics coming through now, right? And I wonder, because there's a lot of people will get they'll give harsh sentences to certain groups of people, or they'll back people. But in this case, the people that actually who instigated this, they've got very harsh sentences too, haven't they?
Sorry, the ones that the 3 chaps?
Yes, the 3 chaps that they've went. There was big sentences try to be put onto them too, or is that or what's
I think I don't know if they've been sentenced yet, but I know I don't know if they pled guilty or not guilty. But listen, not being horrible, what they get. They went round there. They're the ones that left our home. I went round to Joe's house. So, to be honest with you, they should have been charged. they are charged, but young Joe shouldn't have been charged. But as I said, a manslaughter, fair enough, at the worst scenario, and it would have been. But it's just a sad case for both families. It really is.
Tyson Fury, would he not get involved in this? Because I'm sure if he talked about this here, because obviously it's the travelling community.
I spoke to William about this, and to be honest with you, Tyson Fury should make a statement. He should have went over to that. He should have went over to that process beside Big Joe, because at the end of the day, he is the heavyweight champion of the world, and he would have had a clout. But unfortunately, it's not happening. And maybe, I don't know, MPs, whatever you call them in the Republic of Ireland, there should have been some of them that gone there and fight for Joe's case. It looks to me, and I don't want to sound horrible, but the word in Ireland for a traveller is a knacker. That's what they're looking at, Joe. There should have been, I won't say Tyson Fury should have went, but listen, if it was me, if I was in Tyson boots, I would have went. So I would have. But there's people, there's MPs, whatever you call them, in the Republic of Ireland, there's people in there, they should have went to that. But at the end of the day, they're looking at Joe, you're only a knacker, and have a nice day.
You see, up here, Timmy, it's different. We don't call, you wouldn't get the name knacker in the north here. That would be in Dublin. You hear people talking.
That's what I'm about.
It's like directed at people that maybe the lower classes of society, and this is what I'm trying to say. The traveling community isn't that. This is what people don't understand. I know a lot of traveling people that are not like that at all. But the word knacker would be a Dublin thing. Up here, they wouldn't even speak it. They don't even have a name. They wouldn't even say that. But it's a subconscious thing when somebody thinks about it. Not me. I don't think that. I treat everybody with the same level of respect.
Same here.
It doesn't matter if you're a traveller or whatnot.
Exactly. Who you are, what religion you are, what colour you are. You are what you are. And if you're good to man, you're good. And that's it. But I just think, and I pray that young Joe gets the result he wants, and he will do. He will. He'll get the appeal, and whatever happens after that, it will not be a murder charge anyway.
Timmy,
can I just ask, how is the family actually taking this? I mean, is it affecting the family badly? Is it?
Well, yes. Of course it is. If Joe was my brother, Joe's my cousin, and it's affected me. So what are we affecting his father and mother, and his brothers and sisters, his wife, his children? I'm Joe's cousin, and I'm devastated. I'm devastated for the man. It's so sad. And I said, two wrongs doesn't make a right. And all you can do is pray. You can pray for young Joe and pray for the other family. But as Joe, at the end of the day, did Joe murder him? No. And please God and his holy mother and all the saints in heaven that he'll get the result and just let them just get on with their lives then.
Timmy, can I say this for the viewers that need to understand this situation, right? It doesn't matter. Take away religion, race out of this. If we allow this to slide right now, then who is next? Will it be your son? Will it be your daughter, your dad, your brother, your friend? Because if you allow this to slide, this will become normal in the future to convict somebody on defending themselves. And if you allow this now, it's going to be you next time. If you think it's not going to be you, it will be you. 100%, so everybody needs to get together and stop this. Regardless, doesn't matter if you don't like the traveling community. You like life, and you like to be able to defend your own.
If you were in bed tonight beside your wife and you heard men burgling your house downstairs, now the first reaction is going to be the fear of God in you. You know what I mean? I would. If you think, oh, there's men down here burgling my house, and what are you going to do? You're going to walk down the stairs. You're going to say to your wife and kids, stay in the bed. I'm going to walk down. So it is. I don't know if Joe doesn't get justice, I don't know what's going to happen to any man that defends his home, unless you're a countryman. And I'm not being disrespectful to you boys, but whatever chance you'll have after that, if you're a countryman or, as I said, a settled community, you might get a chance. But if you're a traveller, defend your home, sorry, you're going to jail for life. End of story. So there's no justice. But you know what? Listen, this is only the first round. You know, Joe's got a few more rounds left, and you know, I hope somebody in Belfast or the Republic can just, as I said, grow a pair of balls, you know, and say, listen, you know, this is wrong, you know, and hopefully there will be. I really hope so.
Are you coming over on the 30th?
Yes, we are, yeah.
That's good. I'll be there too.
Yeah, and as I said, I couldn't get there the other day, but I was at Gatwick Airport and I booked in, and unfortunately, the Queen, God rest her soul, you know, she died, and I was devastated because young Joe's, you know, he's a good friend, and regardless if he's a friend or not, you know, justice, you know, we're not asking for favours. We're not asking for anybody to say all this. We're just asking to look at the facts of the case, you know, and it's black and white. You know, it's black and white. You know, Joe. I just think the people that's in charge of that, you know, I just think it's mad. I think it's one big conspiracy between the police, the CPS, and I don't know what jury they picked, but obviously, you know, I don't know. I just
think about it is, mate. I hope this is going to sound really, really bad, and I'm going to explain what I mean, right? I hope it's some type of conspiracy that can be overturned, because
I hope so, yes.
If it's not, then what you're dealing with is you're dealing with systematic racism against the traveling community, which is worse.
1,000,000% against the traveling community. You know, and where does it end? Does it ever end? No, it won't. And if this carries on the way it is with young Joe, and he does end up getting life, whatever, murder, it'll be disgusting. It'll be wrong. And the Belfast, and I'm not being horrible for this, about the Northern Ireland people that are looking at this, that someone could have stood up and said something. Do you know what? I hope God forgives them. I really do.
I'm not going to lie to you, Timmy. I see, when I first heard about this case, I stayed away from it for a wee while because I wanted the full facts to come out, and then I read into it. I read actually what happened, and it was like, hold on, what's going on here? And it was hard to find an article about it, but then I was able to find a few articles, and then more articles came out about it. The fact that it isn't publicised in the Irish News, the Belfast Telegraph, and all these papers, that there is an injustice here. And, you know, for me, you know, indicates that people don't want to go near this. But if this was a politician that was defending their home, if this was somebody that they believed to be important that was defending their home, if this was bloody Daniel O'Donnell defending their home, then what would happen is it would be all over the papers. Everybody would hear about it. There'd be petitions left, right, and centre. Money would be thrown at it. And the fact, for me, that I do believe that it's not a grand conspiracy. It's more to do with systematic racism towards certain groups in the north of Ireland. And once again, the north of Ireland has found itself in a situation where we're persecuting against another group for who they are. And it's absolutely disgusting.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And if you look at all the videos or whatever, podcasters, whatever's been talked about this, you look at all the comments, there's not one person negative for Joe. Everybody said the same thing. You know, he defended himself. Where's the murder? Where's the murder? And what you just said there, do you know what? You hit it in the head. It's sad and it's wrong. And all we can do is hope that somebody, you know, in Northern Ireland will say, listen, this is wrong. You know, let's give the man a bit of justice, you know, regardless who he is. He's an Irish traveller. He is what he is. But we have to be fair. And as I said, we're not looking for favours. All we're looking for is look at the facts. Look at what happened from the beginning to end. And, you know, how you can find somebody guilty of murder in a matter of 2 hours. It's just fucking crazy. It's mad.
I was looking throughout the whole world because I'm starting a new series of it's called Wrongfully Convicted. I'm starting a new series from a channel. We're going to talk about wrongfully convicted people throughout the whole world. I'm going to start off here in the north of Ireland, and I'm going to do the whole of Ireland. I'm going to do England, and then I'm going to branch off to America. But I've been reading a lot, and I'll have to say this. The north of Ireland, and I know it's nothing new for some of the viewers that will be watching this here, but the north of Ireland is full, and I mean absolutely full of injustice. And if we put up with this now and we allow this to slide, this is only going to get worse. At 2022, we need to put a stop to this, and the correct sentences need to be applied. The correct people need to be put in for the jury. The correct judges need to be put in for the job.
Yes.
This isn't just a willy-nilly case. This is somebody's life you're dealing with here.
Yes, and somebody's life, 100%.
And we need to do it. The people.
I'll be honest with you. Again, it boils down to the police and the CPS to charge Joe with murder. Are they doing their job right? No. They've looked at the facts. They're professional. They've seen murder cases. They've seen, Northern Ireland shootings, whatever. They know what a murder is. They've had to look at that and think, this is not murder. And they've obviously come up with a murder charge. Because who? Because who he is. And it's just, it's wrong. And when Joe was arrested, I said to William, he's never going to be charged with murder. Never. If it's a manslaughter, fair enough, but it's not going to be. He was charged with murder. I could not believe it. I
remember speaking to William because we were talking about other stuff. He says to me, there's this scenario going on with young Joe. And I says, no, that should be fine. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, is the North of Ireland going to do another North of Ireland here and show the world that the justice system is full of dickheads? And whenever William was speaking about it, I was positive. I didn't want to be negative towards the situation, but when I read into it, it was like, there's a possibility here. And I'll never forget the day that, William sent me the text message and said to me, and I was ashamed that this is the justice system.
Don't bless you for saying that. And it's wrong. It's wrong. And this is where some MP, I don't know what, somebody in Northern Ireland has got to be listening to this, and they've got to say, listen, this is wrong. Let it be a man or woman and stand up and say, listen, this is wrong. And, we understand the young boy's dead, but Joe did not murder him, and we can repeat ourselves 7 days a week. What do they want to do? Just get Joe and give him 25, 30 or whatever for the keyway because who he is, and a man can't defend his home? No, I think it's just wrong.
I've got a question here. A question came through from Anonymous, and a guy that wanted to stay anonymous. And I think it's a legitimate question, and I hope you don't mind me asking you this question. He says, if this was the other way about, would you be still defending the other side of the family? If it was one of the other side of the family that had done that to Joe and it was the other way about, would you be saying that it's an injustice?
Gospel, honest truth, and I'm going to be straight with you, and as true as God is looking, I would say the same thing. It was not murder. It was not murder. And if one of them young McDonagh boys, if Joe and let's say two of his mates went round to their house and one of them was killed, the words I would say, what possesses to go round to that man's house with weapons?
Mm-hmm. And you're right.
If that was my son William, I've got 3 sons, and if my 3 sons went round to a man's house in, like, God forbid, on 10 years' time, and I don't know if they were drunk or drugs, whatever, went round with weapons, and one of them was killed, I'd be devastated. But then I'd have to look at the facts, and you know what? I'd be so angry with my sons to even for what you've done to go around to a man's house with weapons, And I mean, I couldn't say the man meant killing them or whatever if they'd done that. But if the man cut one of my sons in the leg the way Joe done that and he died out of it, you'd have to be honest with yourself, and you'd have to be honest with God, and you'd have to say, listen, you didn't mean killing them, and you'd have to say sorry. My sons went round there, and I'm sorry. They brought it on themselves. But did that boy mean killing one of my sons by cutting him in the leg, defending himself? No. And this is where, you see victims, every day, whatever happens. But you've got to look at the facts. And if that was my son killed, God forbid, the same way that young Joe killed him, I'd have to hold my hands up and I'd have to say, boys, you know what? He didn't mean kill them. I mean, I'd probably never talk to them, and it'd be hard to forgive them, but at the same time, you'd have to hold your hands up and say, boys, my 3 sons went round there with weapons. and they brought it on themselves. So you'd have to be honest. You'd have to be honest.
I don't know if it's. I don't listen. People come to me and tell me stories all the time, and I can't verify them because I don't have the time. But there was a story that I heard, and I think it's true. That a guy in the same area as young Joe shot a man that came onto his property, and he shot a man with a gun that wasn't registered, right? But the man that shot somebody was defending himself from attackers, and he got manslaughter, and he shot a man dead.
100%.
And it was in the. I think he shot him in the chest. And I don't listen. If that story isn't true, I apologize. But I'm reading into these little stories that I'm seeing here, and that was many years back. So if that's manslaughter, if there's many of these cases that are verified that are manslaughter, then why is this not manslaughter? To me, there's only one.
To be honest with you,
and that's biased.
When Joe was charged, and he shouldn't have been charged, but let's say he was charged, and he is charged, he was charged murder. But Joe should have been charged at the worst scenario of manslaughter. And then the jury should have found him not guilty of manslaughter. But if he was charged with manslaughter and he done 3 or 4 years, but I just don't know. I don't know how he could be charged with murder. I don't know how he's convicted with murder. And, us on this site here in Oxford, we're gutted. We're devastated from him. And if Joe went out that night and with a gun and shot them dead, and he meant doing it, you think, fuck you, Joe, you fucking done it, you killed a man, fuck off. But he didn't. And I still say it, and I said it at the beginning of this interview. If young Joe was a countryman, go on, sorry.
So last question for you, Timmy, because there's lots of questions floating through my head, and I forget, and I want to get your sort of answers in these here. But how is Joe doing? Is there any word from Joe? Has he any messages? How is he doing inside at the minute? Is he okay?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't spoken to Joe. But listen, if you were in Joe's boots tonight, could you imagine it? I don't want to imagine it. Do you?
No, I couldn't.
I haven't spoken to him, William has, but if I was in Joe's boots tonight, I'd be a sad man. I'd be a sad man, knowing full well that I'm an innocent man, I didn't murder nobody, and it's that word, murder, there's a difference between manslaughter and murder, there's an intent there, it's different, and Joe has to be sitting there. I mean, if that was me, I'd be a broken man. There's no point lying. Because I'd be an innocent man. I didn't mean to murder anybody. I didn't act for it. I was sitting at home with my wife. So, can you imagine what Joe's going through? Maybe a little bit, but not too much, because I don't want to imagine it.
Yeah, listen, it's one of these situations. I do feel the appeal is going to go your way, everybody's way, the way that the people want. So. I have to say this. There's people that have came to me that sort of didn't understand the situation and says that this was murder. Whenever they read this, whenever they seen the interview that I done with Paul and William, and they seen the protest and they actually looked into this, came to me and says, Ronan, I was wrong and I apologise about that. And there's a lot of minds being changed, and the majority, 99.9% of the people now realise that this is not the correct thing that should have been done. And at the very most, manslaughter needs to be overturned.
You said it, at the very most. And if it was charged with manslaughter, it'd have to be a low manslaughter. But you're right, it wasn't murder. And, hopefully somebody's conscience, somebody out there that has a bit of clout, not the average Joe blog, but, as I said, the MPs or, I don't know, councillors, or, they might think, you know what, I've got to do something for this man. This is not fair. This is injustice, this is wrong.
And not after the fact, MPs, if any MPs are listening or anybody with clout, not after the fact. Don't get Timmy on and get... Yes,
100%. Joe's walking the street.
Whenever the travel well and you have everything's done for them. Not after the fact. That's called being a rat. We're talking about now. Help now. Yes. Help right now. Because if you don't help right now, you're...
Right. Joe needs justice. That's all he wants. He doesn't want anybody to tell lies. He doesn't want anybody to bend the rules. All young Joe wants, and his family, and we all want, is just the facts, justice. Be fair. Give the man a fair trial. Get a fair jury. And listen, any person that'd look at that, if I was in that jury, I would find him guilty of everything. Joe's as much as a victim as anybody else in this, and you know, we could talk all night, or we could say this, we're blue in the face, but it all boils down to, you know, people in the suits that maybe got a bit of clout, I don't know, but racist, 100%, conspiracy, 100%, and wrong, and they're not doing the job properly. The police and the CPS did not do their job properly. They charged Joe, and I repeat myself, because who he is, Irish traveller, boxer, whatever, and it is what it is. But, you know, listen, you know, it's only one round. There's a few more rounds to go, please God.
Timmy, you're going to win. Listen, there's a few more rounds to go. I think he's a 100% win this fight. I do believe.
I have 100% faith that Joe'll be a free man sooner than he thinks, you know. And somebody with a bit of common sense will get his appeal. The judges will look at it, and you know what? He'll never be a murderer. Never.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Listen, Timmy, you spoke really, really well there, mate.
All right.
Unfortunately, that is the end of the podcast.
No, 100%. And thanks for having me on. And so are you and your friend there, gentlemen. And please God, you know, this time next year, we'll all look back at this and we'll all laugh. And, well, I won't say we'll laugh, but we'll look back at this and we'll, you know, we'll learn by it.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And you're welcome, Timmy. You're welcome. Any of your family are welcome on this channel. Anytime if you want to say, just contact me via William. And I'll just come on. And
right, good. Right, well, listen, have a safe night, and may God bless you all. Right, good luck.
Same to you, Timmy. God bless.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And the rest of the family.
Right, God bless you, mate. Good luck to you both. Bye-bye.